Welcome back, dear viewers, and for more depth, we are joined over the phone by international relations expert, Mr. Hassan Wagih. A very good day, sir. It's a pleasure to have you with us to give us more informative knowledge about the ongoing situation between, of course, the Sudanese president and what took place today. What is the significance, sir, from your own perspective, of the Sudanese president of the Sovereignty Council visit to Egypt and the timing?
Yes, it is very important to visit since Sudan constitutes a very important country in the African continent, and Egypt and the president have this equation of the most important thing is stability, security, because they are the avenues for investments and for building up and for sustainable development. And also how to deal with conflicts in the continent, and especially in Sudan. Sudan is, with Egypt both of them have a very good historical ties and historical relationship. We are calling ourselves the people of the Nile Valley. So we are one people, actually, when it comes to history and the relationship. So I think the visit of General Al-Burhan is very important to discuss with the president all the dimensions of the situation in Sudan and in Africa and regionally also.
Okay, sir, what is the importance of coordination between Egypt and Sudan concerning regional situation?
Yeah, concerning the regional situation, first of all, we are very keen to help Sudan get back to the stabilization and the stability track inside the country itself. So this is a very important thing for so many reasons. It's not only for an Egyptian reason only, because Sudan is an important Arab country full of wealth that could really enrich the entire world if there is a stability and investment in Sudan. And when it comes to regionality, of course, Sudan is very important when it comes to the Red Sea. And you have seen now these days developments that are really dangerous developments that really threaten the security of the Red Sea. So Sudan and all the people who are really having, they are on the Red Sea must play a very important role in securing the Red Sea.
Okay, sir, how do you weigh Egypt's stance concerning the current situation in Sudan and the means of restoring security and stability?
Yes, of course, Egypt has been exerting a great effort when it comes to this. And I think that Egypt is fighting the zero-sum mentality. Egypt wants all the conflicts, and when the president was the head of the African Union, and after that and before that, he really exerted a great deal of effort to establish security and stability as two cannons and two important rocks for having this sustainable development going on in the continent of Africa. So how about Sudan? As I've said, Sudan has stronger relationship with Egypt, and Egypt is very keen to get Sudan on the stabilization track very soon because of its important role.
Sir, how do you evaluate Egypt's role in supporting African countries and boosting sustainable development in the continent?
I beg your pardon, could you repeat your question?
How do you evaluate Egypt's role in supporting African countries and boosting sustainable development in the continent?
Yes, you know, Egypt played a very important role by having several conferences that really roomed the entire countries in Africa with the African Union, and Egypt held on its ground many African conferences and African gatherings, and Egypt is very keen to strengthen the ties with all African countries. You have, we have tried great deal of efforts to establish a win-win situation with Ethiopia, despite the fact that Ethiopians are taking one-track-minded solution to the problem that we are facing. But Egypt is patient, and Egypt is containing, and Egypt is keen to have everything in a peaceful and diplomatic way to establish such sustainable development, and the benefit should be for all countries in the continent. So I think Egypt's role is very important when it comes to all fields of cooperation with all African countries.
Sir, of course, after the meeting, President Fattah al-Sisi, after he received the President of the Sovereignty Council, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi held talks, and an Egyptian-Sudanese summit took place at Al Ittihadiyya Palace between both the President al-Sisi and al-Burhan, President of the Sudanese Sovereignty Council, which is on a current official visit. How do you read in the future, sir, and today as we talk and as the summit is already held, the two leaders, of course, and the two countries enhancing bilateral relations and bilateral ties and address issues of the addressing of mutual concern, sir?
Actually, as I've told you, it is very important to have to extend all kinds of ties, enhancing these ties in agriculture, in education, in media, in solving and managing that very protracted conflict zone that became protracted. We have to cut it down to be a minimum conflict till we can erase that conflict from Sudan. Egypt is very keen about having Sudan stabilized. And of course, there are so many issues that we need to work for in the future. Like I've said, about the security in the Red Sea, about the security of African countries, about minimizing the conflicts in the African countries, because you have seen that many international power wants to have intervention in our continent, African continent, and we should stand firm against such a negative intervention and provide good way to cooperate with all powers of the world.
Sir, do you see from your own perspective that all the topics that you mentioned now are going to be under control under the Egyptian, of course, Sudanese supervision, and of course ties that are taking place? And in what context do you see Egyptian international relations as we talk now?
Yes, as I've told you, yes, Egyptian role is very keen to establish diplomatic efforts to solve most of the conflicts in a diplomatic and compound diplomacy way. And I think that we have a great deal of work together in the African countries when it comes to what is happening in the Gaza conflict, in the Gaza war. And we have seen when it comes to Africa, the role of South Africa also, which was a pioneering role and very important role. And I think that lately the International Court of Justice extended its hearings for many countries to listen to their arguments regarding the right of the Palestinians to establish their own homeland and to cancel out the illegal occupation of their lands and to come to a peaceful solution to this very protracted conflict that really could really be enhanced or could really minimize. Egypt cares about minimizing that conflict and finding a way for a ceasefire and for getting the Palestinian their independent state, which is legitimate right, with in compatibility with all international laws and international resolutions that came out from the United Nations itself.
Mr. Hassan Wagih, international relations expert. Of course, we thank you so much for your in-depth, of course, informative knowledge, sir, about the ongoings and today's, of course, summit that took place between President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the Sudanese president of the Sovereignty Council visiting Egypt. Thank you very much, sir, and we'll be with you, the viewers, minute-by-minute coverage on the ongoing situation between the president and the visiting from Sudan. Stay tuned.